Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bria Price, the manager of college success here at Achieve Atlanta. So, we do ask that you post any questions that you have for Achieve Atlanta in the Q&A box that you should see at the bottom of your screen. And we'll do our best to answer those during our Q&A portion of our event. Now, I would like to introduce the Executive Director of Achieve Atlanta, Tina Fernandez.
Good morning, Achieve Atlanta scholars, families, partners, and supporters. We are so honored that you are joining us this morning to celebrate Achieve Atlanta's 5-year anniversary. I love birthdays, and I always make it a point to celebrate milestone birthdays because I know that there are only so many moments in life where we get to gather with the people that we love and celebrate. And so a year ago, we started planning Achieve Atlanta's 5-year anniversary. And we would invite all of you who are here today, we'd invite our scholars, we would celebrate those that graduated, and we had our venue booked, and we had our playlist selected, and we were ready to party. And then in March, the world changed. And we have had to change the way we live, the way we work, and the way that we commune with each other. And for a brief moment, we thought about canceling our 5-year celebration. How could we celebrate amidst so much turmoil? But then all of you reminded us that we don't give up and we don't give in. And now more than ever, it is important to celebrate the good things in our lives. So if you're a scholar, a partner, a community member, a supporter, use the chat. Some of you have already done that to let us know who's here, to say hello, and to show that you are part of this Achieve Atlanta community. Because today we are here to celebrate all of you. It has been a joyous 5 years. And working in partnership to support our young people has truly been transformative for everybody involved. And today we're excited to share what we've accomplished and what we've learned along the way. So in the next hour, you will see our debut for our brand new 5-year anniversary video. You'll hear reflections from a few of our staff members. And you're going to get to hear from one of our recent Achieve Atlanta Scholar grads who just graduated from Spelman College. We're so excited for you to hear from her. And we hope that you will be inspired, and we know that you will be proud of all that this community has accomplished together. So, without further ado, let's get this party started.
My parents didn't go to school. They really didn't know about the college process. They just know you need to apply.
When it comes to being first generation college, it's like climbing a ladder that nobody else in your family have climbed before.
The mission overall is helping every student do the best that they can.
I knew that I had to at least get a 4-year degree at some college or university.
Achieve Atlanta's vision is that Atlanta be a city where race and income no longer predict post-secondary attainment and upward mobility.
And the way we do that is by helping Atlanta Public School students access, afford, and earn a post-secondary credential.
When they implemented the College Advisors Program, everything just changed.
And that's where I actually first heard about Achieve Atlanta, and we made our Match and Fit bus.
We knew we needed to find a way to help students pay for college in the state of Georgia. And we designed the Achieve Atlanta Scholarship.
My parents told me from the beginning, if you can't find a way to pay for school, we might not be able to help you.
Instead of having to really concentrate on how I'm going to balance money and school, I can really focus on schooling.
We look at the student and make sure that the scholar is persisting and completing, but we're also making sure that they have access to the services that they need on campus.
It was just really nice to have someone personally call me and say, hey, are you okay?
The Achieve Atlanta serve a purpose that transforms student lives here in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's a purpose that needs to be continued for many years to come.
So our first cohort of scholars going to college was 600. And in the last 5 years, we're now serving almost 3,000 students studying at over 200 colleges and universities across the country.
We've seen the number of students complete a FAFSA just skyrocket. We've seen the number of seniors who apply to multiple colleges increase.
The percentage of students who enroll in college right after graduation, we've seen that go from 51% the year we started to 62% 3 years later.
So one of our core values at Achieve Atlanta is intentional collaboration. This effort does not exist without the support of our funders, our partners. We have had the benefit of a community of people who have really helped make Achieve Atlanta stronger and better.
Just to know that there is an organization and an institution out there that says, you know what, we understand these barriers, we still think you can be successful.
We find ourselves in a new world at our 5-year anniversary. COVID has really just pulled back the curtain on the inequity that we knew existed for our students and in our community. Our vision does not change and our mission does not change, but how we do the work has to. And we have to figure out how to do our work in this new environment in a way that continues to positively impact students. Our 5-year anniversary, we are also graduating our first 4-year cohort. The very first Achieve Atlanta scholars are earning their degrees.
My name is Dayla Jackson. I attended Oglethorpe University.
I attended the George Washington University.
I'm Shay, and I'm a recent graduate of the University of Georgia. It's not enough words that I could articulate how much gratitude I have for each and every one of you guys at Achieve Atlanta.
Thank you so much for what you do.
I really want to extend like my huge hugs, kisses, and all that.
I just want to say thank you to all of the believers out there, and we look forward to the future for Achieve Atlanta.
Wow, wasn't that awesome? And I even got chilled seeing the photos of all the graduates. Really brought a smile to my morning. So now we will have a short panel to hear from a few of our team members. We will have Suzanne Diggs-Wilborn, Vice President of College Success, Nifa Murillo, Director of Scholarship and Financial Wellness, and Corinne Schooley, Vice President of College Access. Hello, everyone.
Morning.
Hello. So let's just get started with this panel. And let's start with you, Corinne and Suzanne. You've been with Achieve Atlanta since really the beginning. Could you share what accomplishment you're most proud of and why? And what was it like to build college access and college success programs for Achieve Atlanta?
Well, I'll go first. Thanks, Bria. It's kind of amazing to think that it's been 5 years, and I have to say that sometimes it feels like it was just yesterday that we were sitting in the office and trying to figure out how we were going to launch this this program. And I knew you were going to ask me this question, so I thought a little bit about what I would say. And there are so many things that I'm proud of that I would love to list out. All of our partnerships, a bunch of the new initiatives that we implemented with Atlanta Public Schools. But I stepped back and I said, well, let me think about like what's different in August 2015 from August 2020. And two things come to mind. So the first is that now every student in Atlanta Public Schools is going to get tapped on the shoulder and told, you can go to college. Let me tell you what it's going to do for you, and let me show you how to get there. And so it's not just happenstance that students get connected with someone to help them sort of follow the steps to get to college. It's not just the high achievers. It's not just those students whose parents went to college. It's everyone. And that's really monumental, I think, for Atlanta Public School students. And then the second thing that comes to mind about the difference between August 2015 and August 2020 is that the conversation and the language around college has really shifted. And I remember 5 years ago, and some of my colleagues will remember this, we were celebrating a lot of social media posts. So Twitter is a big deal in Atlanta Public Schools, and there were so many posts around students getting accepted to college. And congratulations that an entire class at a high school had been accepted to college. And at the time, I think we all felt like, that's great, we've done it, kind of we're done, we're there. And over time, the past few years, we've really moved the conversation within the district, among school leaders, among students, among parents, and really in the community, that it's not just about getting to college, but it's really about how do we as a community ensure that all students in Atlanta Public Schools are able to get through college. And I think that's just a really big change and big shift. So really proud of that.
Dan, how about you?
So I am most proud of the trusting relationships we've built with our partners and by extension, our scholars. Because of this foundation, I think we're able to identify and address barriers more quickly than we otherwise might have. One of the many examples that stays with me is a scholar who came home for the holidays, or actually who could not come home for the holidays because the campus was closed, and through a series of unfortunate events, she was actually living out of her car and in a pretty unsafe situation. So in our conversation with her coach, she shared her concerns. The coach connected us with her, and through a series of conversations with our campus partners, we were able to move her back into her dorm early and provide access to meals and connect her to financial and advising support services so that she could finish, excuse me, her terms, excuse me, successfully. Getting choked up. Her coach continues really to provide some of that social and emotional support, and she's really on track to finish her program successfully without additional debt or even safety concerns. And I think that every service, every program, every conversation, every meeting we've had since 2015 has been about creating this type of support system for our scholars.
That's great, Suzanne. Thank you for sharing that. So a question for Ninfa. What are some of the lessons your team has learned from implementing the Achieve Atlanta Scholarship? And since you've been in your role, what have you noticed from scholars around affordability and how it impacts their college going process?
Great questions. So one lesson learned is that it takes much more than a scholarship for our students to complete post-secondary degrees. There is not a magic scholarship dollar amount that solves college access and completion. And something that's unique and special about our scholarship program is that we have the benefit of being part of a larger collaborative effort to support our students and families. So the scholarship is really just one piece of the puzzle, and we need all of the other pieces around our access work and our support work to maximize those scholarship dollars. An example of this that I'll use is the FAFSA completion and renewal and how these puzzle pieces come together. On the access side, we have our partners helping our students complete and drive the completion of the FAFSA. On our college success side, we have our partners really supporting students so that they are supported academically to maintain the requirements to keep the federal aid. And so that all of that work together is critical to then really maximize our scholarship, as we were meant to supplement other aid. It is really rare to see scholarship programs be supported in a coordinated effort in covering such a large part of the access and completion continuum. So it's really special and great to be a part of that. On your question about what I've noticed around affordability and how it impacts our college going process, or our students and families' college going process, we do not want students and families to be surprised about what needs to come out of their pockets for school, and especially weeks from the first day of classes. So we need to meet students and families where they're at and need to support them to make informed decisions about where they go to college, And that really involves deeper affordability work. We're working on creating additional support around that, and we're really excited about the work that we'll do.
That's awesome, Ninfa. And this is just a reminder for all of our attendees. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A box to put those questions in there. That's where we will see your question and be able to ask our panelists. So this next question is for Corinne. Corinne, where do you see Achieve Atlanta in the next 5 years, and what do you hope for?
It's a great question. So one of the things we realized early on in our first 5 years was that in APS and in many other school districts, that college access is not one person's job. So there's a whole bunch of people who touch it, but at the end of the day, there's no person or department whose sole focus is in ensuring that students get what they need to go to college. And so that's one of the things we've done is we've essentially built this infrastructure that pulls in a number of different departments within the district. It pulls in College Advising Corps and One Goal and other partners. And together, we're collectively sort of building that program and holding ourselves mutually, collectively accountable for these students. And I am super proud of that. I talk about that a lot, of just the strength of those partnerships. And I think that's why we've been able to accomplish so much. But I think my hope is that in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, that honestly, that Achieve Atlanta isn't needed, that we're not necessary, or at least not in the way that we are right now. And I hope that we have been able to help schools, the district, really build their own capacity, and that we've changed the culture such that so that the district can take on the reins and they can garner the resources and the political will and to restructure caseloads and so forth, such that the district and the high schools are able to lead on this college going sort of pipeline and ensure that students get the college going support that they deserve.
That's great. Thank you, Corinne, for sharing that. So like Tina mentioned earlier, we are in a very special time right now, and we have to think about how that impacts all of our work. So a question for Ninfa: how did your work change in response to COVID-19? And what do you think needs to happen in the future?
So COVID-19 has had a detrimental impact on many of our students and families. One way that we were able to assist was to quickly shift. And when I mean quickly, in 2 days, we were able to expand our emergency grant program to be available to all of our students. And that also took commitment and flexibility from our grant administration partner. With that shift, we were able to help over 400 students move and get back home, provide rent assistance, provide technology as they shifted to online learning. In the coming school year, we're doing our best to plan for potential scenarios and needs that may arise with the continued pandemic. On the affordability side specifically, we're going to be paying special attention to the ongoing financial aid challenges in the process, with financial aid completion, and the ability for our students to meet our scholarship requirements.
That's great. Thank you, Ninfa. I'm sure your team will continue to think about how we can continue to support students as this pandemic evolves. So we have a viewer submitted question, and this is for Suzanne about college success. Suzanne, how do you connect the scholars to one another once they're in college?
Yes, so we have a couple of different ways that we do this. One of them is to take advantage of the ambassador program. We have 11 post-secondary partners, and on every campus we have ambassadors who are peer mentors who provide support, event programming. This year we're really excited. In addition to the FAFSA and financial and affordability literacy that we provide on campus, there is a push around voting. And so those are the types of events that actually pull our scholars together and get them to know one another. We start the school year with mixers on our partner campuses and with our nonprofit partners who provide coaching and emotional support to our students. There is always a push to have them get to know one another on campus and to seek each other out, and also to meet on campus. And so there is a web of support that we weave for all of our scholars on campus to make sure that they know who one another are and they can seek each other for support.
That's great. And Suzanne, can you talk a little bit about how you might be shifting the way you think about your work because of COVID? You know, Ninfa shared how her team is making changes. Can you share how you're thinking about it?
Sure. With so many of our students coming home, as Ninfa talked about, abruptly, a lot of our priority became outreach and support. Our goal was to touch every one of our scholars and make sure that we understood their needs and could direct them to resources. If there was one concern that rose to the top, it was their support for their behavioral health. With the ongoing stressors of COVID-19, the social unrest, the racial tension, we are finding that this is coalescing into this phenomenon that we call racial trauma. Over 90% of our scholars are Black and Brown. So our scholars are even more vulnerable to depression, hypervigilance, chronic stress, fatigue, and even somatic symptoms. And it is because we find ourselves in these continued circumstances that supporting the mental health of our scholars is a priority more than ever this year. So we're not only providing access to student assistance program for all of our scholars, but we are actively promoting that service through direct outreach and through our partnerships.
That's great. Thank you, Suzanne. And a question that looks like it's for Corinne. Someone asked, do you think you'd be able to do this college access work without an official partnership with the Atlanta School District?
To be blunt, no. I think that we would have made progress if we were working with individual schools, high schools. We for sure would have made progress. We have amazing partners. But there is something really unique about having that district partnership. For example, we have really robust data sharing. Anybody who works with us knows that we love data. And so we are, not only are we sort of sharing and reviewing data, but each of our partners in the district has really strong data teams that help us understand what's going on. And we're able to like look across schools and see where there are challenges or where things are going really well. And so we have this like benefit of like a larger pool and larger population and that data access. And then the other thing that's been really key to our success is we have built, we call it a working group, a college access working group. It's really a leadership team made up of key district personnel and key leaders from Achieve Atlanta and College of Eisenhower and One Goal. And we get together every month and we're looking, again, it's like looking across the district and able to uncover challenges that are often systemic. It's often something we see something at one school, but we realize that if we can fix it sort of across the board, then we're going to be able to impact students more quickly. And so I just think the district partnership has been key to the success and key to the great gains that students have been able to make.
That's great. Thank you, Corinne. And a question for Ninfa. Can you talk about how in your role you work with Corinne and Suzanne and those teams within Achieve Atlanta?
Yeah, oftentimes we find that we're the first, our team is the people that these students hear from first. So they'll call because we pushed out messaging to say, please renew your scholarship and complete your scholarship. And during that transition, students might say they have questions about transfers, or they didn't do so well and they're not going to meet the scholarship requirements, or their financial aid situation has changed. And so we've really learned to work together to figure out what is the best system to facilitate referral to resources, what are some of the support that we can provide in the transition. And so we really have to cross-train and work together to make sure that the process is friendly for our students, and that we really close the loop to make sure that the issue that they're facing is solved.
Awesome. Thank you, Ninfa, and thank you to all of our panelists. And if you wanted to ask another question, you will have time to ask that. Later in the program, we'll have a Q&A portion. So at this time, we are going to hear from Sam Rauschenberg. And Sam is our Vice President, Data Strategy.
Hi, everyone. So glad to be here this morning. And I'm going to start with an overview of our scholars and then move into some of our outcomes over these first few years. So across our first 4 cohorts, we've had more than 3,000 scholars attend nearly 250 colleges across the country. Now about 85% of our students stay in state, and the majority remain in the metro Atlanta area. But each year, about 1/3 of APS graduates become scholars. 76% of them pursue a bachelor's degree, and the remaining students pursue an associate's degree or technical degree. Nearly all of our scholars are eligible for Pell Grants, so we make sure that they're fully leveraging their federal aid prior to receiving our scholarship. 95% identify as Black or Latinx, and about half are first-generation college students. Now moving on to our college access collaborative outcomes, we've seen more seniors completing the FAFSA over the last 5 years. You can see that went up from 51% to 72% this last spring. And more seniors are also applying to 3 or more colleges. Less than half did that before our partnership began, and then that's increased to 77%. And most importantly, the percentage of graduates enrolling in college in the fall right after graduation, what we call seamless enrollment, has increased over this time. Now you'll notice that went up to 62% in 2018, and went down slightly to 58% this last year, which was largely driven by a decrease in enrollment in 2-year colleges. And frankly, this provided us with a good opportunity as a collaborative to figure out the root causes for why that happened and adjust our strategy for the 2020 cohort. Still, even with this decrease, the most recent data available, the most recent year, there were about 400 more students that enrolled in college after graduation compared to that first year. Lastly, last spring, we rolled out the Match and Fit List Builder, which was an online platform to allow students to, juniors in APS, to build a college list of target, reach, and likely colleges. We launched actually a few weeks before COVID-19 closed in-person instruction, but still more than 1,000 juniors built the list last spring, which is really a testament to the hard work of advisors, of counselors, and of students who still went through that process and were thinking about their future even amidst all that was going on. Moving on to our affordability work. So as you may know, our scholarship is a 4-year scholarship for those in a bachelor's program that provides $5,000 a year. And if they're in an associate's or technical program, it provides $1,500 a year for 2 years. And as of last spring, we provided more than $22 million in scholarship funds to our scholars, and again, more to come this coming fall. And last spring, and through the emergency grant program that Ninfa mentioned earlier, that initially began as a small pilot and expanded more broadly, we gave out $190,000 to more than 450 scholars this spring. Thanks to Scholarship America for administering that, and then several donors who expanded our ability to fund those grants this spring and keep our students focused on school amidst all that was going on in the world. Moving on to our college success work. We now have 11 post-secondary institution partners and 3 nonprofit partners. Now, those partnerships do a lot of work, but one of those key pieces of the work is that they provide coaching support to all of our scholars who remain in state. So again, that's 85% of our scholars who remain in state. They receive coaching support through a college they attend or through a nonprofit partner. In terms of outcomes, one of the ways we compare our outcomes is against students enrolled in the university system of Georgia. About 3/4 of our students are enrolled in the university system, so they often provide a good comparison. Of our students enrolled in USG, compared to all students at those same institutions, you can see across the 3 cohorts, this graph shows the 3 cohorts as of last fall. So our first cohort of 2018 scholars, of 2016 scholars, our second cohort here in the middle, and then our most recent one, persistence to year 2. And each year, that persistence is at about the same level of all students, regardless of income status. So when you think about our vision being that race and income should no longer predict post-secondary success and upward mobility, this shows that our scholars are tracking towards that goal. Most importantly is what's next, and that's the number of graduates. We have 203 Achieve Atlanta graduates and counting as of this week. And each of those graduates is a story. It's not just a number, but it's a story. Stories like Ebony, who graduated from the University of West Georgia this spring and is starting her career as we speak as a 3rd grade teacher. Or Edward, who graduated from Atlanta Tech with a diploma in wiring and is now pursuing a CDL license. Or Shay, who graduated from the University of Georgia and is returning to APS as a college advisor through the College Advising Corps, much like the advisor that she had who helped her get to college 5 years ago in our first year of our partnership. Now, there are those of you out there who are much like me, the data people, who are wondering, all this descriptive data is really good and stories are encouraging, but what about rigorous analysis of impact? Have you done anything about that? And the answer is yes, and more to come. So we have contracted with 3 experienced researchers led by John Smith at Georgia State University to serve as our external evaluators. And they've already done a few analyses for us. Namely, last year in 2019, we did a quasi-experimental analysis that found some positive evidence of impact on persistence. But the main takeaway from that work was that we just need more cohorts, more students in college to really increase the statistical strength of that model. So our plan with them is to circle back in 2021 and conduct those analyses again, looking at persistence, looking at increasing the number of students going to college. And then long-term, we want to look at also reducing our impact on reducing students' debt upon graduation. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over for questions and answers at this time.
Thank you, Sam, for that very informative report. So Sam, I'm going to start with you. And the first question is, so you've seen the data, and we're seeing that our students are persisting at similar rates as their peers in the University System of Georgia. But what would you say are 2 of the biggest impediments to getting our scholars through college and to graduation?
I think one of the challenges that each scholar's story is different. And so we provide the aid, but every student's journey, the obstacles they face are different. And because our students are coming from low-income backgrounds, they often are one hiccup away from something that could derail them. So it could be a car trouble, or it could be not being used to being on a college campus far away from home. And these things that they just are experiencing for the first time, that providing that support network around them can really help. And I think I'd love to hear from Suzanne as well on this question too, as she really works with partners directly on a day-to-day basis too.
Thanks, Sam. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. So what are 1 or 2 of the impediments that you're seeing for students to persist to and through college?
One of the biggest one is not asking for help when there's help there for them. So asking, if there's an issue with money, if there's an issue with academics, not being able to really seek out that help or know where to go. That's one really big impediment. The other is making sure, following up and following through with campus resources and making sure that there is a two-way relationship on the campus. So finding someone that they can trust, finding someone that they can talk to, and then that person that they have on campus really following up on what they say they're going to do. And that creates that trust and that two-way communication, whether that's around money, whether that's around academics, whether it's around social emotional support.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I'm going to get a little bit more personal here and ask you to share what brings you to this work. And I'm going to start with Ninfa. Ninfa, why do you do the work that you do?
So I was a first-generation college student as well, and faced so many challenges and just really felt alone through the process. But I've spent my entire career both in nonprofits and college campuses and foundations really supporting this work because I really believe in it. It's really powerful work. This education changed my life to provide a better life for my daughter, my very young daughter that I had right after graduating. And I can just felt the impact and the ripple effects that education has, not only on families, but communities. And so I love doing this work, and it's just so powerful. And just getting to work with students and their families and partners that are committed to it as well is amazing.
Thank you, Nympha. Corinne, can you share what brings you to this work?
Sure. I had this moment a few years ago before Achieve Atlanta. I was working with some counselors in Fulton County schools who were trying to help students over the summer transition from high school graduation to college. And this is this phenomenon that many of you all on this call know about, summer melt. And so we had implemented this program for counselors to work over the summer to help students make that transition. And I was on the research team, and so I was doing these focus groups, and I talked to this counselor who said, well, I talked to a student yesterday who said that she's just not going to go. And I said, well, why? And she said, because she doesn't have a ride to get to the college. I think she was going somewhere 3 hours away or so. She doesn't have a ride. She can't figure it out. And she's just like, not going to go. And I was just like shocked that something like that was going to derail this student's dreams. And then the counselor said, but don't worry, she's going. In fact, I drove her there last night. And so it was also just like the power of that like that relationship, and that somebody could just like step in, give the student like a little bit of help to keep their dreams on track. And with that work, I just realized how we do so much to help students get from K through 12 and get across the graduation stage, get into college. And then we kind of leave them alone. We're like, okay, go figure it out. And that just is not fair. And so, I really was just struck by the power of coming together to support students and help them manage just these transitions, and to help them be by their side and help them get to college and then through college.
Thanks so much, Corinne. Suzanne.
I was sitting here and actually what Corinne was saying actually brought tears to my eyes, because I do think about those individual students. My background is not formally education. My background is change management, it's leadership development. It's very, very different in terms of my training. But when I look at some of those types of interventions that we would use with organizations and with other leaders, and as an adjunct professor, not see that in the higher ed space, and see how much good that could do to improve systems and processes, I get excited. I get really excited about using or applying those same types of systems and processes to help our students get through college. My mom was a teacher in middle school, and so I saw that was about as close as I got to education as a profession, until I taught adjunct. But I knew that, as Corinne said, there were supports in K through 12, but I didn't hear as much about it when we got to higher ed. And so just being able to provide processes and systems and services that touch the student is very rewarding to me. Mission-driven work is a must for me. And this is about as mission-driven as it gets. You see the results with our students. My background is also healthcare, and you always wanted to see how it impacted the patient. Now I see how it actually impacts the student directly.
Thank you, Suzanne. Sam, if you'll round us out.
Sure. So I started my career as a high school math teacher. And when I look back at over the 3 years that I taught, I can count on one hand the number of students who finished a college degree that I'm aware of. And in my prior role with the state and other roles, it really continued to eat at me and it wasn't always just the financial aid that was a barrier for students, although that was part of it. It was often other things that would derail the college process. And so being able to join an organization that is a collaborative, frankly, that is trying to tackle the problem of college completion, knowing that a college degree, whether it be a technical certificate all the way through a bachelor's and graduate degree, is essential in our current workforce to change upward mobility. But seeing so many students derailed on that process. And so being able to provide coaching support, financial aid, and all the other kind of behind the scenes things that we just do to help students get across that platform and graduate so that they can chart their future is what brings me to the work.
Thank you guys all for sharing. And it's evident to me, and I'm happy that everyone gets to hear that for all of you, this work is personal, and you're committed to this mission from a place of what you value and what you want to see in the world. And I really believe that has made all the difference in the success of this organization. So thank you for sharing that. We had one question here that asks, given the current COVID pandemic and the effect it has had on students, does Achieve Atlanta have plans to increase their non-financial services to students, even post-pandemic? So I want to just take that question and say that, yes. So one of our core values at Achieve Atlanta is continuous innovation. And what that core value is about is that we always want to think about where are we still seeing gaps, what's not working, and what do we have to do differently to achieve the vision that we have, which is that Atlanta be a city where race and income no longer predict post-secondary success and upward mobility. And we know that academics and finances are foundational, but they are not everything, that we are dealing with whole people. And these people live within systems. And I think what the pandemic has done is pull back the curtain on the inequities that we know existed, and in some ways given us permission to talk about them. So to talk about systemic racism, to talk about financial inequality and generational poverty and the impacts that it's having on our students. And in this work, we talk a lot about root cause. Well, if we want to get to root causes, then we've got to go all the way down to these root causes. And so we're looking forward to being able to think about what additional supports and then what advocacy can we do to really dismantle these systems so that our students can be successful. And that's something that I'm excited for this team to tackle in the next 5 years. So with that, I am now going to turn us over to our guest speaker, who is an Achieve Atlanta scholar and now alumni and graduate of Spelman, Mariah. So Mariah, take it away.
Thank you for that introduction. Am I even going to get this scholarship? Do I fit their type? Those were some of the thoughts that filled my brain as my guidance counselor, Mrs. Oliver, told me about Achieve Atlanta. Previously, I had applied to 20 scholarships and received rejection letters after another. I didn't fit their type. Coming from parents who went to college but still had debt and 2 other kids to care for, I didn't want to put that burden on them. But how was I going to be able to pay this $2,000 gap? This need-based scholarship was crucial for me because without it, my dream school would not be a reality. I was excited to learn that Achieve Atlanta did not have strict requirements such as a high ACT or SAT scores or making applicants write tons of essays explaining why they needed the money. After many stressful nights, I was excited to learn that I got the scholarship. I remember the first summer summit like it was yesterday. Downtown at Georgia State, so many students, so many smiling faces. I didn't know what Achieve Atlanta had in store for me, but I felt a sense of belonging. Through the Achieve Atlanta cohort, I was able to vent to my fellow 2016 scholars about my concerns and connect with my campus advisor. I never told anyone this, but that outlet helped me mentally my freshman year. Through that, I gained experience to find confidence. Confidence to travel abroad twice. The confidence to establish a workshop abroad. The confidence to come out of my shell and join clubs. The confidence to persist through my senior year when it was ripped away from me. Words still do not explain how it felt not to have a formal graduation and walk under the arch. Not only was my senior year taken away from me, but the possibility to find a job was going to be impossible. After submitting tons of applications and having my dream job taken away from me, I did some reflection. Education equity is my passion, and I knew Achieve Atlanta had partners, so I began to do research, and that's where I found Beyond 12. I applied, and after several interviews, I got the job. I am now a college coach with Beyond 12, and I truly love it. Without Achieve Atlanta, I wouldn't even know my current employer. This pandemic has hurt many people, but especially graduates deeply. I encourage everyone to reflect. Reflect on what brings you joy and dig within to ignite the power you have to achieve your goals. Achieve Atlanta gives all students a chance to succeed, a chance to stand out of their comfort zone, and a chance to ignite their own potential when others have discouraged them from doing so. Happy birthday, Achieve Atlanta, and continue to impact students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah, and we are so proud of you. And I just want to say, Mariah is an Atlanta Public School graduate. She's a graduate from Spelman, and as you heard, she has joined the ranks of Beyond 12, one of our partners, to help additional students throughout their college journey. And we could not be prouder and more inspired by what Mariah has already done and what she's going to do. So with that, we come to the end of our program, and I just want to take another moment to say thank you to everybody who's been a part of this community, to everybody who's been willing to sit with us and have those difficult conversations and negotiate and compromise and think about what's our collective vision and how do we work together to get to that place. We have shown that when you bring the power of many together, great things can be accomplished. And we are so grateful. And to our scholars, thank you for persisting despite all of the obstacles thrown at you, despite COVID. Some of you are getting ready to start the semester online. Others will be on campus, but we want you to know that we have your back and we will continue to walk with you along your college journey. And to the families who are here, congratulations on all of the accomplishments of your young people. And to everyone who has joined us today, we hope that this has given you a little dose of inspiration as we head out into the weekend to know that the power of community is real and that together we can make sure that our young people thrive. So as we say goodbye for now, a few things. One, we have our 5-year impact report released today, and it is available on our website. So go to achieveatlanta.org/5, and you can see our beautiful impact report. You will also see that we're launching a new website today to mark this occasion, and you'll also be able to see the video at that website. So go check it out. Please share it broadly on your social media channels. Use the hashtag #BelieveExpectAchieve and let everybody know about the great things that are happening in Atlanta. I want to give a special shout out to our Director of Communications and Marketing, Vet Vandiver, who has put together this incredible event and all of the beautiful pieces, the website, the video, the impact report that you are going to see. The visuals are really stunning. And I just want to thank her for all of the hard work that she's put into this event, and thank my staff who tirelessly work every day with babies and toddlers tugging at their shirt sleeves and at their pants and sitting on laps during Zoom meetings. I am so grateful for all of you. It's sorry, you guys, I'm a very emotional person if you guys don't know that already. And here's to the next 5 years and to the wonderful things that we're gonna do together. So go into the weekend celebrating, we certainly will, and thank you. And here's to the next 5 years. Thank you so much.